faithful Niner Empire. What's good? Welcome back. Welcome back to Straight Out of the Bay. We have, of course, myself, Jay, in the Bay in here tonight. Amin the Dream will be joining me shortly. But as the thumbnail says, faithful, it is a miserable Monday. The 49ers fall to 5-5 against division rival Seattle Seahawks. This was definitely a game the Niners had to win. Hell, Geno Smith he had never won a game versus the Niners in a Seattle Seahawks uniform in the past 5 games. As my co-host mentioned earlier, Geno Smith hit us with the Steph Curry good night. You know it's bad when Geno's doing that to you. But as I told Amin earlier, man, I mean, this Niners squad, we're just an average team. The talent is there, but everyone's a year older. And we're not really playing to our standard. We definitely had chances to win that game last night, or on Sunday. And but it just didn't come to fruition, faithful. Feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section. What you thought about the game, what needs to be changed, is the season over? Definitely will be reading comments throughout the show tonight. But yeah, man, I mean, it was a difficult game to watch on all fronts. I know people want to blame the defense, and it's funny when the Niners lose games. Brock Purdy throws an interception, right? Purdy throws the INT. The defense usually plays its best half of football in the first half. You know, you only allow 6 points to your opponent. That's pretty good. But the offense they don't take advantage of those opportunities that we have in the first half. Like, we need to be increasing the lead on opponents, especially when the defense is doing its job. You know, this Niners offense needs to score points. I mean, we call Shanahan a genius, but he's not really showing it. There's a lot of factors involved in that. I mean, missing Kittle was huge yesterday. I mean, we saw it in the receiving game. It was either hand off the ball to CMC, throw it to Juwan, who catches everything, or Brock Purdy's running the ball. He's scrambling. And that's unfortunately not a recipe for success. I don't understand why Kyle does not use all the weapons at his disposal. When CMC was out, who do we use? Faithful? Jordan Mason. We had Isaac Garendo. And now those players don't exist. I don't understand it. I know CMC's a beast, but you really want to put all your eggs in the CMC basket, like work him into the game. And hey, Kittle's out. You're missing a receiving threat. Hey, have CMC catch some balls instead of having him run 19 times. Give some of those carries to Isaac Garendo. Give some of those carries to Mason. It's just it's crazy how Kyle doesn't see that. I just don't get it. But Amin the Dream has graced us with his presence tonight. Amin the Dream, what's good? How are you doing, man, on this Monday night, man?
Have you seen the clip of when Stephen A. Smith and like the Knicks didn't sign Kevin Durant and they ended up signing Julius Randle at offseason, and Stephen A. Smith is like, I'm having a very bad day. I'm in no mood. No mood. That's how I feel tonight, Jay. I'm in no mood. Like, the Niners, like, see, as a young Niners fan, like, the way that the Niners play sometimes dictates my week. Like, the way that my week goes, my energy on, like, a Monday. We lost to the Seahawks. And we didn't just lose to the Seahawks. We blew a lead to the Seahawks. And then at the end, Geno pulled out a night-night celebration. Like, he is not Steph Curry. Geno is 0-5 against us. But for some reason, the last 2 minutes of the game, Geno turned into, like, prime MJ, ice cold, like, water in the veins, game on the line, you know, crossover, mid-range jumper, like straight swish, and you're like, Geno's doing that against the 49ers? What the heck? Yeah, it was not fun. It was definitely not fun.
Yeah, it was definitely tough to watch because the recipe for the 49ers to lose a game is clear. It seems like we see it every loss. The 49ers offense is stagnant. Purdy throws an INT. The special teams is terrible. Jordan Mason freaking fumbled the kickoff. It's like whatever goes wrong with this squad, it just tends to put us back. A sequence that comes to mind: the second half, right? I think this was in the second half, or it might have been. Well, okay, there were two plays. I think the first half, I think we had the ball, and I think it was 1st and 10, and or it might have been third and 10. But Purdy takes the snap. I think he got sacked on this play, but I think the tackle did a decent enough job. Let me know if this play rings a bell to you. I mean, the tackle does a decent enough job. Purdy ends up getting sacked, but I just thought that looking at the replay, Purdy should have moved up into the pocket, into the middle, and there was really no one around him, but he ended up taking that sack. Let me know if that play rings a bell to you. But I think that was at the end of the first half, I think. And I think we ended up punting the ball or something, I think. But it's just small things like that. Also in the second half, the defense does great, right? We get an interception. Isaac Yadam gets the pick. And what does the 49ers offense do? We're already in the Seahawks territory. What does the Niners offense do? You get a penalty. You get two straight penalties. Actually, sorry. CMC runs the ball, you get a first down, but then after that, you get 2 straight penalties. And then I think we end up settling for a field goal. So it's just things like that where you shoot yourself in the foot, and we've seen the results of that. We're an average squad. We can't keep having. We had 9 penalties to Seattle's 4 or 5. Like that's just not going to get it done. And I don't know if it's a Kyle thing, if it's a player thing. The players are a year older. We don't have the same guys on this defense or offense for that matter. And it's just tough to watch every week, and the schedule doesn't get any easier. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the next 2 games we play, but it doesn't get any easier, man. So I mean, what were your thoughts, man? What was like one of the most, I don't know, what was one of the most terrible things that you saw in yesterday's game that contributed to the loss, or what's something that you just want to sound off on? What's just something that's on your mind, man?
I mean, like at this point, special teams, like with the whole Mason, like almost muffed it. Like special teams has been garbage all year. So like honestly, at this point, if special teams doesn't screw up in the game somehow, I'm shocked. But when it does screw up, I'm just like, all right, it's a regular special teams hiccup that they pulled another one of either a muff punt or kicker misses a field goal or some special teams issue. It's normal at this point. It's almost a regular, which it shouldn't be, but unfortunately, it's literally been a trend this entire season with this 49ers special team. Offensively, I mean, everybody said with Christian McCaffrey back, coming off the bye week, Christian McCaffrey hasn't looked the same, right? And as part of it is probably him coming off that injury, right? Him kind of, slowly coming back into it and getting back into, playing football again and playing, actual games instead of just being at practice. But the one issue that I particularly had yesterday was Jordan Mason gets in the game. You see Jordan Mason, he has an 8-yard carry. And you're like, damn, Jordan Mason, that was a nice run. He had a little cutback, gets an 8-yard run. And then you don't see Jordan Mason pretty much at all after that. And then, like, I looked at the stat sheet after, and it was like, okay, Jordan Mason had one more run for, like, 5 yards. But he had 2 carries and averaged 6.5 yards per carry. And your starting running back is struggling right now. He's not playing as like we've seen him play. He's not playing at a high level right now. And instead of giving opportunities to Mason and Garendo, you continue to put Christian McCaffrey out there, which is like, Kyle, it's not that Jordan Mason can't play in your system. It's not that Jordan Mason isn't a good runner. All of that has been proven already. Jordan Mason, when he had to step up, he did. Jordan Mason is a good runner. He's a good running back. He stepped up when you needed him to step up in Christian McCaffrey's absence, yet you still decided not to play him, even though he was effective in his 2 yards, in his 2 runs that he had in the game. And Garendo, I don't even think Garendo got any touches in the game. And it's like, Kyle, That doesn't make sense at all. Because at that point, it's not that Mason and Grendo are incompetent or they're not capable. Is that you have this trust issue that, oh, we have Christian McCaffrey back, so I'm not going to play Mason and Grendo that much. Why do they need carries? They shouldn't be out there on the field. That doesn't make sense, Kyle. Like it's just illogical. First quarter, you guys scored a touchdown. Fourth quarter, you guys scored a touchdown. Moody made his only field goal of the day. But your offense to be that atrocious is just unacceptable. And I'm not going to blame the defense because the defense, for the most part, except for on that last drive, it kind of reminds me of the Jimmy Garoppolo 49ers, where the defense is trying their best. They're hustling. They're putting up a pretty good game for the most part. And at the end of the game, the defense just gets tired because the offense isn't carrying their share or carrying their load, and the defense get tired, and at the end of the game, they allow a touchdown, and we end up losing the game. It's like the Jimmy Garoppolo days, where like the defense is doing all they can, and at the end of the game, they finally break a little bit, and then, other teams score the touchdown, Niners lose. But there was a tweet that I want to read out to you, Jay, and this guy's name is Kurt Benkert. He was a former, I don't know if you've seen this tweet, but he was on the 49ers practice squad last year, and he said, the 49ers offense doesn't adjust protections. They just throw hot. Other teams know this and can force their hand in critical situations, just like we saw in the Super Bowl last year. It's mind-blowing stuff that a simple flipper would fix. There's a happy medium, in my opinion. Some plays do not need a protection change, and it makes sense to go out and throw hot, while on critical downs, you should only be calling the best plays possible. And there should be few tools for every quarterback to get edges protected the right way. This is what Jordan Love does so well on third downs, especially in the red zone. During my time in San Francisco, this was the number one thing that made no sense to me. If there was a clear and easy answer, why not empower your quarterback to get you into the best protection? This stems back to Shanahan's history as a receiver, in my opinion, instead of seeing it through the lens of a quarterback. But what do I know? I'm just a YouTuber.
Hey, I mean, that's part of Kyle's flaws, as you just illustrated. I think he needs. I mean, that was great, and that was from a practice player. You said
he used to be on the 49ers practice squad last year. Kurt Benkert used to be on the 49ers practice squad,
and I think that's part of the problem. I think Kyle needs not a middleman. He needs someone that can, I guess, not question him, but kind of. Well, maybe he does need someone to question.
But Jay, let's be real here.
Why are you doing? He won't allow it.
We won't allow it.
His ego's too big. But it's like then how do you improve if someone who is not in your favor? That person is not in your favor. They're not against you, but they're just looking at you. I think they call it impartial, right? So, hey, Kyle, here's an area where you need to work on. What are you doing to work on that area? Like, there's no one like that in the building. I know his dad is there, but I don't know how close he is to the squad. I don't know if his dad gives him pointers, but yeah, I mean, he's got areas there he definitely needs to improve. And I think you do need to empower Brock. You're about to pay this man $40-50 million a year. Like, he gives him more responsibility.
Jay, someone said it because I was watching the Cone Phone earlier, and someone said it in Grant's chat. He said, "Kyle's an alcoholic. He has a problem, but he refuses to address. He refuses to acknowledge and address the problem. Forget about even addressing it. He refuses to acknowledge that there is a problem in the first place, and that's an issue with Kyle. Is that I don't think Kyle can't adjust or that he's incapable of adjusting. Kyle doesn't feel like there's even a need to adjust, and that's where the problem is. Because it's not that we know Kyle Shanahan has some creative play designs, and he's a great play designer. But at the same time, if Kyle thinks every single one of his plays is a 10 out of 10, no matter the circumstance, no matter the situation, when in reality, we're seeing it, like as the fans are seeing it, the players are seeing it, when it's not working out on the field, and you're refusing to acknowledge it, there's something wrong with that. And that's the issue with Kyle, is that look at who Kyle Shanahan brought in. He fired Steve Wilkes, and he brought in to be the assistant head coach Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley is not someone that's going to yell at Kyle, is not someone that's going to get into Kyle's face. Brandon Staley is the same coach who was on the Los Angeles Chargers, who got fired in his third season and who blew an infamous 24-7 lead against the Jacksonville Jaguars in the playoffs, and he blew that lead. His players, his locker room, they didn't really like him. He got fired. Kyle Shanahan brought in a younger version of a Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan basically brought in the defensive version of Kyle Shanahan as the assistant head coach. And have you seen like some of the stats of like the Chargers now versus the Chargers when they under Brandon Staley? Like it's apparent, night and day from like the 24th ranked defense all the way to like a top 3 unit. And what's the common denominator of even last year, the Chargers blowing leads in the fourth quarter or losing 1-score games versus now with Jim Harbaugh, even though they allowed a comeback, they still finished it and won over the Bengals. What's the common denominator in all of that? It's Brandon Staley. So now the Niners don't only have Kyle Shanahan who blows games and who chokes and who's egotistical and arrogant. Now you have Brandon Staley who also chokes, who also can't close out games in the fourth quarter. Now you have 2 of those people in the locker room and in the in your organization.
But this is what Nick Bosa and some other players wanted. They did not like sideline Steve. They forced him to come down from the booth to the sideline. And there's a crazy stat. I don't know if you heard about it in the chat, but when sideline Steve was here last year, I think the Niners did not allow points in the fourth quarter. On 11 games. And this year, we've allowed points in the fourth quarter every game. So it's crazy how things change in a year. Now, Bebop Jones was good. He did say that, Greenlaw, Ward, and Kittle out is a difference. And there's definitely truth to that. I think Dre Greenlaw compared to Devondre Campbell is like night and day. I think we see that on the field in every game. But real quick, I just got to say what's good to everyone that's in the chat right now. We got Jose Avila, Daniel, RM, E. Kim, a modern elder, Bebop Jones, Ragnar. We got Chompy. We appreciate everyone that's tuning in to the stream right now. Yeah. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. Jose says, I'm so pissed off because of ego. We let go of Harbaugh. We should have never let him go. He is a tremendous leader of men and a great coach. He knows how to get the best out of his players. Yeah, I think every Niner fan can agree with that we never should have got rid of Harbaugh. But
that was a Jet issue.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't jive. So that we all know that. But yeah, man. I mean, the injuries definitely were an issue. Missing George Kittle. Obviously, he's a huge difference maker in the running game. We did see Shanahan put in Jalen Moore. I was like, wait, why is Jalen Moore in the game? I was like, oh, they're using him as a tight end. I was like, okay, well, that's something creative, that Kyle Shanahan did. I don't know if it really worked, but that's definitely something different. I just wish we would have, as you said earlier, use your other weapons, man. Use Isaac Orendo, use Jordan Mason. I don't know why. I would just love to hear why. Like, I just don't get it. Because like,
Kyle has trust issues.
But I don't think you can say that with the running backs, because Jordan Mason he was leading the league at one point in rushing in the NFL. So how can you
but Jay, that guy? That's because Kyle had to play Jordan Mason, because who else are you playing? Because Christian McCaffrey's out. Now that Christian McCaffrey's back, right. And we've been talking about it for the last couple of seasons, Jay. We were like,
he's proven. What else does Mason have to do? He's proven.
Yeah, but we've been talking about this for the last couple of seasons, Jay. We've been saying, you know what Kyle Shanahan needs to do? Yes, we love, Christian McCaffrey. The Christian McCaffrey doesn't have to play every freaking snap. Jordan Mason's also capable. He now, especially this year, he's proven himself. He literally led the league in rushing yards when he was a starter, but yet you still refuse to play him. And even in his 2 limited touches, 8 yards and 5 yards, like, that's good yardage, Kyle. I don't understand it. And then you never see him the rest of the game. I don't know what it is. Like, it makes no sense. There's no justifying why Kyle Shanahan didn't give Jordan Mason more opportunities. But that's where it's like, it's not that he's not capable. It's not that he's not competent. Kyle just doesn't want to, or Kyle has this weird ego thing. And I think that stems from Kyle, honestly speaking. I think it stems from Kyle in his childhood. Like, you're a Shanahan. Imagine being a Shanahan, and every single place you go, your dad's a Super Bowl winning head coach, and everybody tells you you're the smartest, and you're the smartest guy in the room, and you're this, and you're amazing, and you're brilliant, and you're great. Like, Kyle, yeah, you have good moments, you have bright moments, but it doesn't matter if you have this huge ego and you're arrogant, because talent only goes so far. And like you look at the rest of the league, like some of the stuff that Kyle was doing a couple of years ago, like the jet sweeps and the motions, the rest of the team runs that. Like the rest of the teams, not a lot of the good, successful offenses and successful teams run that now. Like the Miami Dolphins use motion a lot. The Rams use motion a lot. They use receivers in jet sweeps. Like none of the stuff that Kyle Shanahan does now is like, none of the stuff that Kyle Shanahan does now is necessarily really innovative or offensive genius worthy. It's like Kyle is just stale. It's bland. Like there's nothing that you do anymore that actually is like, wow, Kyle, this is brilliant.
No, that's a great word to use, stale, because I think that's what it is. It seems like the league has caught up to Kyle Shanahan and the offense, but there's no Ayuk. We know he wasn't really a difference maker when he was in there this year. He had one hell of a game, and that was pretty much it. But when you're without Ayuk or without Kittle, I feel like Debo is like once every 2-3 weeks he'll give you like a pretty good performance. But as we saw yesterday, nothing. No, I think he had 4 catches for like 8.5 yards. Like it was just, and then those runs with Debo, they're not really working. They're not effective anymore. So why not
because
use
Jay,
a
he's not
different
good.
player? You said Debo's not good?
Debo's not good. Debo's. Listen, Jay. Let's be real. I sent you that tweet. I sent you that tweet about the Seahawks were trying to trade for Debo Samuel pre-draft. Let's be real here, Jay. Debo Samuel as a pure receiver is not good. He can't separate. He drops wide open slant passes. He is not good as a pure receiver. What makes Debo so good is the way that Kyle Shanahan utilized in the last couple of years, the way that he was used in this offense. That's what made Debo Samuel Debo and this amazing freaking phenomenal player, right?
The Niners didn't sign him to be a pure receiver, though. They used him as the wide back. They use him as an all-around guy who can catch the ball out the backfield. He can run the ball as well, and also he can run some routes. But yeah, he may be a step slower. I think it may be he can't have back-to-back great performances anymore. Or maybe Shanahan needs to get him more involved in different ways. I don't know what it is, but
when was his last great performance, Jay? Like, let's really when was Debo's last, like, I would say Philadelphia last year. That was his last, like, Debo honestly, going crazy with it.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about this season, I mean, nothing comes to mind. But I mean, so okay, you look at his best game this year as far as a receiver. Week 2 at Minnesota, he had 8 catches, 110 yards. So since then, he had a game where he had 3 catches, 1 catch, 3 catch. Didn't play against KC. He had a game where he had 4 catches, 5 catches, and 4 catches, and he's only scored 1 touchdown. So I mean, he's definitely well paid, overpaid, but the Niners paid him based on one season. They paid him, based on one. Hey, real quick, what did you think about, Debo telling Jake Moody, lock in? What did you think about that?
Debo did what every Niners fan wanted to do on the couch. Okay, like even I was watching that game, and I'm like, even I was living. So like, Debo honestly did what every Niners fan who was sitting on their couch wanted to do, but couldn't. Like Debo's a man of the people. That's one thing I will say, because Debo, and like I'm not gonna sit up here and say it's okay to smack teammates and all that. But honestly speaking, Jake Moody, he's not good. He's not good. And like, I'm not saying that he can't be a future NFL starting kicker. But at the same time, the same reason why the Niners got rid of Trey Lance, because he wasn't ready yet. And some Niners fans will say Trey Lance is a bust. Trey Lance isn't good. He hasn't developed. That's fair to say, even though I still think Trey has potential. But like Jake Moody, he's not good. He's not good right now. And I'm not saying that he can't be better later, but he's not good right now. And for a team that claims to be a Super Bowl team, a Super Bowl championship caliber team that wants to win the Super Bowl, you can't have your kicker missing 3 field goals in a row. Like, it's just unacceptable.
Moody is good. He's just in his head. So, during that outing where he missed those 3 field goals, I was wondering, well, what did he do, before the game for practice during that week? They said he was lights out. in practice. They said he made all his kicks. Like, there's no way the Niners will put him out there if he's missing kicks left and right in practice, or if he's hobbled, if he's still hurt. It's in his head, and that's something that he's got to talk to a psychiatrist or something about. Will he ever justify the Niners drafting him with the 3rd round pick? Probably not. I mean, probably not. But to say he's not good, I wouldn't say that. I would just say right now we
had kickers coming off.
He hasn't instilled right now. He hasn't instilled confidence that he's going to be lights out. I mean, look, you just saw Justin Tucker. Look, you saw he missed 2 field goals. I mean, it happens, man. It happens.
Listen,
there's no kicker who's 100%, all the time.
I'm not expecting you to be 100%, Jay. And I don't care if Jake Moody becomes the next Justin Tucker. Right now, he isn't good. Jake Moody looks like a man who has 0 confidence. He walks around with 0 confidence. Every kick that he kicks, it's like, please go in, or please don't be. Like, it's not like a kicker who's walking out there like, I'm going to ice the game, or I'm going to make this. It's like he looks like, even in interviews, he just looks like he lacks confidence since last year, Jay. And 3 missed field goals in a row. And it's like, I'm not saying that a rookie kicker can't struggle, but when I see kickers coming off the street who are making 55-yarders right down the middle and 56-yarders right down the middle, and I see Jake Moody missing a 40-yarder, and even his field goals that he does make, it's like it barely creeps in, and you're like, all right, Jake, you didn't miss this one. You didn't screw this one up. It's not like it's right down the middle. It's like he barely creeps it in, and it's like, all right, Jake, you did your job. When Anders Carlson and freaking who's the other guy, Matthew Wright, are making kicks right down the middle.
That's a short sample size, wouldn't you agree?
It's a short sample size, fine, but Jake Moody, you're a 3rd round kicker. Like you're not an undrafted kicker. You're a 3rd round kicker, and I don't care if my undrafted kicker misses a field goal, right? But when my 3rd round kicker is missing 3 field goals in a row and is missing, and even when the kicks that he does make, it barely goes in. Even going back to last year, like I think people forget this, but y'all remember in the Super Bowl, Jake Moody, he had the longest field goal in Super Bowl
history, baby.
But Jay, and then he comes out and he misses Jay, and then he comes out and misses a PAT. Jake, I mean Jay, he misses an extra point. Really, really, like
so Jake is 17 out of 21. For kicks this year. That's 81%. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, it's good. It's not bad. It's like a B in class. That ain't bad, man.
Jay, I'm not saying that's bad. Yeah. But I'm not saying that's bad, Jay. But like even for example, like the stats like sacks, right? There's guys that get sacks who 6-7 sacks, whatever, they get sacks, right? But then you have to, when you watch the games, or you look at those sacks, right? Like there's guys like Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, that when they make a sack, it's like game on the line. We need our defense to come up clutch. We make a sack. That's an impactful sack. It's not like end of the game, Drake Jackson comes in, he gets a sack. It doesn't matter. You're already blowing out the team, right? You get a sack either way. But I'm saying is like, are you making meaningful kicks? And when you look at Jake Moody, it's like when we need him, if it's like 10-13, and we can go up 6, right? We can go up 6 against the opposing team, and Jake Moody misses a field goal. All right, that sucks. Other team scores a touchdown. The Tampa Bay game. All right, Jake, maybe we could tie it up or even go with another lead. Misses a kick. It's like, come on, Jake. Like you're missing meaningful kicks. I don't care if you miss a game at when it doesn't matter, but when you're missing meaningful kicks that actually matter in the game, that'll have an impact on the game, that'll decide the game, and you're constantly missing. It's like even going back to last year, Jay. Honestly speaking, Jake Moody looks worse this year than he did last year. Like how?
He, based on the percentages, I mean, his percentage is down a little bit. Last year it was 84%. This year it's 81%. So he is a little down. He did miss what? He missed 3 games, 2 games at least. But I agree with what Steve-O said. The backup kickers couldn't kick off to the 15-yard line. That's another reason why Moody is in there for the great kickoff coverage that this special teams unit offers.
Really, really, Jay, really, Jay. Like, oh my God, Jake Moody kicks in the 50-yard line. Oh my God,
I can't even say that with a straight face, man. Oh no, but Moody, he's not going anywhere. Is he? I'm not even going to use that term I was going to use. Does he have? I think it's up here. That's with Moody. He can make the kick. He's talented. It's just up here, and I don't know if he's going to be with the Niners for the next 10 years. I don't know.
I don't have time to figure out what's up here, Jay. I don't.
And that's fair. What Moody hasn't done, he's made kicks, he's missed kicks. What he hasn't done is instill confidence from the fans. I don't know if his teammates trust him, whatever, but that's definitely one thing that Moody has to improve on. Because he did have one game, he was 6 for 6. And you did say that the kicks, they have to be made when they're on the line, but with this inept offense, every kick is important because we know we're not going to score touchdowns in the red zone, and we know we're only going to put up 13 points a game. So, hey, he's got to make all his kicks. I think we can agree on that.
I started Matthew Wright, and Matthew Wright gave me 19 fantasy points. I started Jake Moody, and he only put up 12 because he missed 3 field goals. Okay, he's not even impacting the 49ers. He's impacting my fantasy team, Jay. This is.
Yeah. And that's very important. If he impacting your fantasy team, we gotta pull the fire alarm, baby.
we gotta bring Matthew Wright back. I need those 19 points in fantasy, man.
That's funny. Hey, we appreciate everyone who's leaving comments.
I think Jose asked. Jose had a question about his comment about Belichick.
He says, if you have a coach named Belichick out there, that's probably the only guy I would replace Kyle for. I know Amin's been floating the name Ben Johnson. I want
Ben Johnson.
Hey. One great thing about Ben Johnson, I will say, he uses 2 running backs.
Thank you, Jay. You will see Jordan Mason
huge,
Ben
man.
Johnson.
That's huge.
You will see Jordan Mason and Ben Johnson.
You look at the best teams. I know Detroit is probably the best team in the NFC. They utilize 2 backs, Kyle. So why don't you? It's okay to say, let me take a step back. Let me look at a team that's rocking and rolling. The Detroit's lost 1 game this year, I think. And they got 2 great running backs, man. You could have the same. We got 3. You have this. I just don't get it. Yeah, it's got to be ego, right? Because it's right in his face, and it's not like he can't say this season, I don't trust those guys, even though partly it's his fault because you have the ultimate decision power in whether these guys play, but you've seen them play. So I don't understand why you want to run CMC. And I hate when people used to say you run a player into the ground, but I think really, Shanahan, you are, man. These guys have been proven. Mason and Isaac, they belong in this league. They can produce. You just not giving them an opportunity. It sucks to see. But for Jose's question, so is there any other coach? Because I know you're on the Fire Kyle Shanahan campaign. So other than, would you be interested in Belichick? Because I think we need a offensive line.
It's literally just Ben. It's literally Ben Johnson. And if it's not, then I don't know what other alternatives the Niners have. I would give Ben Johnson a blank check to come coach this team. The 2 running backs, right? You would see Jordan Mason getting involved, right? You would see Jordan Mason getting involved. Not only just Christian McCaffrey, you would even see Isaac Guerrero, right, getting involved somewhat. Belichick, the issue that I have with Belichick is, and I've said this to you before, Jay, is that I'm not saying Belichick being old is we should fault him for that. But when you look at the last couple of years without Brady, some of the coordinator hires that he made, I think Bill O'Brien is offensive coordinator, Matt Patricia is offensive coordinator at one point for the Patriots. It's that doesn't make sense, Bill. It's I feel like when you look at a lot of the successful teams who have won Super Bowls the last couple of years, except for the Tom Brady Buccaneers, all of them have been led by offensive-minded head coaches who are younger guys, like a Sean McVay, right? Or teams that even made it to the Super Bowl, right? Like a Zach Taylor, or Andy Reid obviously has made it there with Mahomes, but there are a lot of young, offensive-minded, smart, up-and-coming head coaches. So for me, it's Ben Johnson. I'm not a huge fan of Belichick. I think I'm not saying that he's not a good coach. Belichick is a legendary head coach, Hall of Famer, one of the best of all time. I just don't know in today's modern NFL if Belichick can adapt enough to where he can win a Super Bowl again, unless he has like a Mahomes or Josh Allen as quarterback. But yeah.
You said it best. Like his decision making with his coaches is definitely questionable, and also his you look at the last, I don't know, five years of his drafts with trying to add talent to the New England Patriots. He had, like, when he first got there, he had some great talent, like Ronnie Harrison, Willie McGinnis, like he drafted Troy Brown, like old school guys. But then the last 5 to 7 years, I don't think the talent's really been there, at least offensively. They definitely can't draft a wide receiver to save their life. Defensively, he definitely added some talent. But yeah, and I'm sure he would want full control, right? He would want
full control. Yeah. And then two, also, like you look at his free agency signings with those full control, like Matthew Judon, Kendrick Bourne, but he just signs a bunch of when you look at his free agency, like the Patriots free agency the last couple of years, you're like, it doesn't make sense, Bill. Like you're just adding a bunch of players, but what are you doing with any of these players? And some of these players aren't even on the Patriots anymore. Like they've all been cut. They've all either been released, right? Like you're just like, it doesn't make sense.
It definitely looks bad when you don't have a quarterback. We don't have a quarterback, even if you surround him with talent. He's not able to make the most of that, and I think we saw that, and that's why Mac Jones had a short stint with the Patriots. Hey, Steve-O brought up a great comment, and I remember, Kyle did use 2 to 3 running backs in Atlanta. Also, recently with the Niners, when we had Coleman, we had Mostert, we had Breida. So yeah, that's a very good point. He's saying everyone complained. I think complaints might have been made because it wasn't effective. Like kind of like what Steve-O's earlier comment, he said with Debo, when he runs the jet sweeps, is to make the defense, either drive hard to the left or drive hard to the right to kind of open things up. But it don't work no more. That's the thing. Like Debo on those sweeps, he used to be able to get positive yardage. He might go 10, 15, 20 yards.
You could call the game. You could call the game. Jay Ember Debo's like, give me the ball, Colin. You could call the game. Like against the Packers, he did it. Against the Cowboys, he did it. Now that play doesn't even work in a regular season game, right?
I think people they've seen it. They've seen it. It's stale, man. They've already seen it. They know it's coming. And I don't know. Maybe use a different player. Maybe Debo's lost a step. I don't know. I don't know what it is. He is a year older. He's got a lot of mileage on him. I mean that could be that could be it. 49ers throwback. He says Kyle Shanahan will figure it out. It's possible, as he will get tired of losing football games. It's coming. And that's
Jay, tired of blowing NFC championship games, tired of losing another Super Bowl, tired of losing against the Seahawks, blowing a lead against the Seahawks this year, blowing a lead against the Cardinals, blowing a lead against the Rams. I mean, like, we're tired.
In his mind, he could say, well, it has worked up. It has worked so far. I think he's the third winningest coach in 49ers history, which is definitely something to be proud of. But when we're looking in the present, we are not meeting expectations, being 5-5, an average squad. Like I like to hold the players to a standard. They need to look into the mirror, but Shanahan needs to do so as well.
Jay, I got a question for you because I asked you on Twitter. If the Niners don't make the playoffs, is it over for Shanahan? Like, because I mean, come on, Jay. Like, okay, let's not look. Okay,
Jed, it ain't over for Shanahan.
Jed will probably hold on to Kyle,
right?
But if you were like the head coach, or if you could, would you get rid of Kyle if they don't make the playoffs this year?
When you look at Kyle's career, like most coaches don't reach the level of success he has. The NFC Championship games, the Super Bowl appearances. Y'all could say he blew those games, but most coaches don't reach the pinnacle. I mean, Andy Reid was fired. Philly would say, yeah, it worked out. They got a Super Bowl with Peterson, and now they look good. But I mean, now what I would say is it possible you use that word stale. Maybe Kyle's message is getting stale. Maybe it's time for him to move to another. And that's a fair argument. I don't think you should fire him based on, might sound crazy, based on his performance. I don't think you should fire him based on his performance. You shouldn't
fire a head coach based on their performance
for this season. And I say that because you're taking everything into account. You're taking it now. If he and I mean, we you have to put things into proper context. Ayuk hold out, or excuse me, Ayuk hold in. Trent Williams hold out. CMC was hurt most of the year. I mean, all these things they go into it. It's not excuses, but it is a part of the story.
Jay,
there's no way to be fired.
No? Kyle had control over all those situations. We can't use that as an excuse for Kyle. If Kyle doesn't make the playoffs this year with this roster, right? Like, I mean, at a certain point, the way that I look at it is, if Kyle would have won a Super Bowl, it would have been in 2023. Like, it would have been in 2023. That was the year.
That's a different question. If is Kyle going to win a Super Bowl with the Niners? That's a totally different question. I know you say,
yeah, but no. you have a head coach who you have your head coach on your team, expecting him with this roster, expecting that he'll win a Super Bowl at least, right? At least one. But if you know that your head coach won't win a Super Bowl, then what's the point of keeping him?
No, that's fair. And well, I would say that's definitely fair. Jed said last year that he would have been satisfied with the team if they had lost to the Detroit Lions in the NFC Championship game. So I think that's part of the problem. He's just happy to be relevant. Hey, they're making money. The stadium is sold out. They're not a trash squad. That's what Jed is happy with. And that's part of the problem. He needs to light a fire under Shanahan's ass, which he won't do. But that's part of the problem. But nah, I wouldn't fire him after this year. Now, if we had the same results next year, not make the playoffs, I think it's time.
Honestly. But that's a wasted year, Jay. That's a wasted year with this team.
Is it safe to say that Brock has regressed? I used the R word. Is it safe to say that he's regressed this year? I mean, you look at his touchdown to interception ratio. That's looking like, dare I say, Jimmy G.
Okay, Jay. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
Okay, all right.
Because while Brock, I think, isn't as exceptional as he was last year, because Brock was really good last year.
He was off the chain.
But at the same time, I think that what you expected last year from Brock isn't what you're gonna get every season from Brock, and also isn't gonna give you a consistent Brock Purdy week to week. Because Brock Purdy's a good quarterback. He'll make the throws. He's a really good game manager. He's an above average game manager, and he'll make plays with his legs. But at the same time, when you look at Brock Purdy, I wouldn't put Brock Purdy in the same category as Josh Allen and the Mahomes. Those quarterbacks that game on the line when you need them to do something, or when your team is, dealing with injuries and is battling with some issues, that they could overcome all of that and step up and win you the game. Now, Brock Purdy, obviously, last week he had that game-winning... Was it last week he had that game-winning drive, and he did his thing? Brock is a good quarterback, but at the same time, things haven't been easy for Brock this year, right? Like with the injury to Christian McCaffrey, the circumstances for Brock this year haven't been great. Now, should Brock hit the throw to Deebo Samuel?
Sound like excuses to me.
Nah, Brock should hit the throw to Deebo Samuel at the end of the game, but at the same time, you're expecting Brock to be this top 10. I think he is a top 10 quarterback, but you're expecting Brock to be this amazing, game-changing quarterback when Brock isn't that, right? Like, I'm not saying that missing easy passes is acceptable, but Brock isn't Josh Allen. Brock isn't, Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. Brock is a good quarterback who's an above-average game manager who can make plays here and there. But, I mean, also in Brock's defense, Kyle Shanahan, you've heard like the Kyle Shanahan said, we give Brock everything. We already put a lot on his plate, and but Brock isn't even allowed to call audibles at the line. Like, Brock isn't allowed to call audibles at the line. And
I think Shanahan said he could switch to another play or switch to a hot route, something like that, which is probably different than what upper echelon quarterbacks have, but I think Kyle did say that. But
when have you seen it, Jay? Like, when have you ever seen it on the field? When have you ever seen?
Yeah, when has he ever audibled?
Have he ever audibled out of a play? Because let's be real here. Sometimes the coverage, sometimes when you watch the plays, it's not like every single play in every single Niners game this year, the play calls has been perfect by Kyle right when he calls them. So when you hear quarterbacks call audibles and do this, and I haven't seen that once from Brock this year. And I've seen every Niners game this year. You've seen every Niners game this year. I haven't seen one of those from Brock this year, right? Yeah. And like Grandizer said it really well. Like they expect Brock to do something that he's not, right? Like they expect, what's up, Grandizer? And congrats on the Miami Dolphins, right? Like it's 2 wins in a row. They might rally back into it. But like they expect Brock to do something that he's not. They expect him to be something that he's not. Because Brock isn't a Lamar Jackson or a Patrick Mahomes. Brock can run your system better. Brock can run Kyle's system really well. But at the same time, like, and Brock makes some plays, right? Like with his legs. Brock makes some plays and steps up. But
he's a playmaker, yeah.
Brock does some good things, but like he's not Mahomes, he's not Lamar, he's not one of those quarterbacks that like, we need a winning play here. Go out and go crazy and put your team on your back and go make a winning play. Otherwise, so I think we have unfair expectations out of Brock.
Really? My expectations are based off, his first 25 games where he set the NFL league on fire, being this Mr. Irrelevant player. So as soon as he stepped on the field first versus Miami, I mean, he's been hella good. He's had a lot more good to great games than terrible games that I can remember. But this season, I think he has regressed. I think him not having the rapport with the Ayuk show, with BA doing the hold in, that definitely affected him. Without CMC being there, that affected him. But the biggest difference I see is just he's been turning the ball over, and we know this team isn't as good as last year. We got injuries, yada yada yada, and we can't afford those mishaps. And if Brock's having a down year compared to what he did last season, then it's that Kyle's fault. Does Kyle get a pass for that?
But Jay, it's not even Brock that's having a down year. The whole team is having a down year, Jay.
Yeah.
Can you really criticize Brock? It's not like, the team is playing beyond their expectation and Brock is sucking, or Brock is playing below average. The whole entire team is subpar this year. So of course, you're gonna expect some decline in Brock's play this year. And I still think Brock has been pretty solid this year. Sometimes he extends plays with the run. Brock makes some plays. The last week against Tampa Bay, leading that game-winning drive, Brock does what he can. But when the rest of the team is, kind of going downhill a little bit, what do you expect from Brock's play? You want Brock to freaking be Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen? He's not those. He's not those guys.
So if the team is going downhill, you can't have the same expectations for Kyle. I think that's fair to say.
But Kyle's the coach.
No, absolutely.
Brock is the quarterback.
No, absolutely. But you could argue that, well, when Brock throws a pick, we lose a game. I mean, that pick when he threw the CMC, I was just like, what the hell is he doing? When draped all over him, huh?
And when Jared Goff throws 5, Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell are able to overcome that. And
we can't overcome that.
Yeah, but then if you can't expect your quarterback to not throw an interception or not make mistakes, sometimes your quarterback will have bad games. But you, Kyle, have to be able to overcome that. I'm not expecting Kyle to overcome that and win every single game. But Kyle, when Brock Purdy's having a bad game or he's struggling, instead of dropping back and running shotgun, run the freaking ball. Or give Brock Purdy a screen pass, or give him a slant, or something short.
Yeah.
But no, Kyle Shanahan's, or give him play action. No, Kyle Shanahan's running empty sets and making him drop back and running shotgun passes for Brock Purdy. It's that's just dumb.
Yeah, if Brock's having a down year, then and as you illustrated, the entire team is having a down year. I just don't think you can have the same expectations for Kyle. He's going to get the blame. He's the head coach. It starts at the top, which I totally get. But I mean, Jed's not going to fire Kyle. Now, does he deserve to be fired? In my opinion, based on this year and everything going on, hey, I would say no. Am I leaning? Am I slowly? I'm on the roller coaster, and we slowly going up to that point where we get the top, and he gets fired. Yeah, is definitely, his seat is as hot as it's ever been, in my opinion. But I just don't think
Jay,
Jed ain't gonna let him go, man.
Jay's not fine. He's not gonna let him go. Fine. What did it take for? Let me ask you a question.
If he has another down year next year?
No. Let me ask you a question, Jay. What did it take for Andy Reid to finally get over that hump and win a Super Bowl?
Yeah, Pat Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, every single year that he had Alex Smith, it was the same exact pattern with Kansas City. He did not go and win a Super Bowl with Kansas City before Patrick Mahomes. They literally blew games, playoff games, multiple with Alex Smith. And then he got the greatest freaking quarterback talent of all time in Patrick Mahomes. Yeah. And they ended up winning a Super Bowl. And also, Andy Reid is this pretty much, that's what people compare Kyle Shanahan to, right? The Andy Reid when he was in Philadelphia, they got rid of him. What do you realistically think it'll take Kyle Shanahan to overcome and win a Super Bowl? And like, I don't even care if Kyle Shanahan goes to another team, because unless Kyle Shanahan has a Tom Brady, a Patrick Mahomes, or a Josh Allen at quarterback, or someone who's freaking phenomenal who can overcome all of Kyle Shanahan's flaws and issues that he has and ego issues that he has, Kyle ain't winning a freaking Super Bowl.
Oh, I mean, he hasn't yet. I mean, Andy Reid didn't win it in Philly. He went to KC. He found his quarterback. I mean, he has it until he has. I mean, I think it's just going to come down to that. Who knows if it'll be?
Niners fans, man, like we. But see, maybe
it can't be all on Kyle, though. I mean, is it his fault that, hey, you get an interception right after the halftime? You stop Geno. Geno throws a dumbass pick, and hey, and how do you capitalize on that? It's not his fault that, hey, the guy wasn't lined up right. Well, I guess. I mean, I'm sure they're not discussing that in practice. Actually, I'm sure that's a position coach thing. Like, oh, you need to be lined up correctly. Oh, you got a holding penalty, Aaron Banks, and now you're behind the sticks, literally. And that's not his fault. But that's what we've seen. It's the penalties. And I guess you could say, well, there's a lack of. I mean, usually the best teams don't have a lot of penalties. They usually don't get heavily penalized. And I guess you could say, well, that's coaching or whatever, and that would lead directly to Kyle. But when you shoot yourselves in the foot, it's hard to overcome that, especially when we're missing players, when we're not the same squad this year. Everyone's a year older. It's, you know, I'm willing to give him another year based off his track record. And we've had a track record of success, and most coaches will never see that. So, but clearly Amin is ready to move on. I would love to hear what everyone else feels in the chat. Are you ready to move on from Kyle, or hey, do you think you should give him another chance? I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. Appreciate everyone that's in the chat right now. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. There were some injuries in the game yesterday. We saw Cowling. I think he was on a punt return. He got knocked upside his head. It turns up he has a concussion, so he was out the rest of the game. I think Juszczyk got banged up, but I think he went back in the game. Bosa has the oblique. Supposedly he may miss the next few games. I guess we'll have to watch that closely. We have to monitor that situation throughout the rest of the week. Am I missing anyone that got hurt? Oh, Purdy, right? Well, he didn't get hurt during the game, but Kyle Shanahan said that Purdy's dealing with some a sore shoulder, and that'll happen when you have to, run 11 times, and he was taking some hits. Purdy was taking some hits during that game. He's not going to be able to do that 17 games in a season. So
I'm surprised Josh Allen hasn't been hurt, man. The way that Josh Allen went around,
but he's also a big dude. He's like 6'5", 250. Like he can take the pounding, but yeah. So I know you talked a little bit earlier about the defense. You said that you didn't want to blame the defense.
Not in this game. Not for this game. I think the defense.
It's hard to. You can say that they can't finish, but when you only allow 6 points in the first half. I think at the beginning of the fourth quarter, you had allowed 14 points. It's like, what else do you want them to do? Like you expect them to shut out. And now if Sideline Steve was here, hey, maybe we would have some shutouts in the fourth quarter.
Nah, but Sideline Steve also wasn't the answer. That Super Bowl, you remember that Super Bowl? It was like a third. What was it, like third and 3?
Yeah,
like it was something like that. And then like he brought an all-out blitz, and I'm like, dude, you're bringing in all-out blitz from Mahomes.
if Mooney Ward would have, but and that's also someone else who wasn't there yesterday, Mooney Ward. Now the defense was terrible, and I guess was Smith and Jigba, was he invisible out there on the field? Like nobody could guard him. The brother had like 11 catches.
He had 10 catches for like 110 or something like that.
So that that wasn't a good performance. DK didn't have like the deep 60-yard bomb to the house, but he was getting some catches. So guys make plays. Guys definitely make plays. Let's see. Jose, I gotta address this comment. Jose says, whoa, Jay. That's a low blow. Brock has not regressed. He is playing outstanding football. If you want to blame Brock for regressing, that's on the head coach, on his play calls and the scheme of it. I think it goes both ways. So you're saying the scheme is the reason Brock is throwing interceptions like crazy? He's got like 9 interceptions on the year. Like you can blame that all on, it's 100% on scheme that he's throwing those picks. I mean, we saw what you think that was on scheme when he threw the CMC, the guy was draped all over him. I mean, come on, man. Like we've seen Brock throw some questionable picks, dare I say Jimmy G like picks. I mean, and I think it's fair to say that based on Ayuk not being there, Debo a year older, not really involving Kittle early on, I think it's fair that Brock has he's not as spectacular. He'll have spectacular moments, he'll have some spectacular games, but then he'll also have games where he's throwing multiple picks. And I don't think you can blame that all on scheme. That to me, that's just decision making. I know Brock wants to make a play. I appreciate it. But he turns over the ball, and when he does, that hurts him.
Jay, that's fair to say, fine, but Brock has also done more than he's had to do in this offense. Right? Like Brock has also done more than he's had to do in this offense with the way that he's had to extend plays, with the way that he's been using his, like every single game. When you look at his over and under on rushing yards, it's pretty much been over every single game. I think Brock has like 260 something rushing yards this year, right? It's like Brock has had to do a lot this year with his legs, which he shouldn't have had to do in the first place.
Right. And would you say that's the offensive line? Because I know Brendel has pretty much been terrible.
Brendel's garbage. Like he's straight garbage. I don't even know. Like honestly, don't even have a center out there. Don't even have a center out there, and it'll be the same exact thing, dude. Brendel is so bad.
I heard a stat where out of 45 centers in pass blocking situations,
he's 43rd, right? 43rd.
He's 43rd.
Get him out of here, man. Brendel's so bad.
But that's the terrible part about it is Shanahan doesn't value, like he does value offensive line, but then he doesn't. Like we drafted Banks, we drafted Pooney, but when there's, I don't know, like when they watch the film and they see Brendel just getting bull rush, just getting beat on every other snap, why not put Feliciano in there?
Because he's Kyle's guy, Jay. When Kyle has his guys, Kyle will always give his guys the benefit of the doubt. Debo, right? Like Ayuk was in the doghouse in 2021 because Ayuk wasn't one of those Kyle's guys. Debo freaking, like, I'm not saying I was okay with the whole smacking Jake Moody thing, but no matter what Debo does, Debo always gets the benefit of the doubt no matter what with Kyle, right? It's like if you're one of Kyle's guys, CMC, right? Like, I get it when your player wants to play 20, 30 snaps a game and wants to be in every snap in the game. But when you're the head coach, you're like, Christian, we can't have you play every single snap because you're just coming back from injury. We need you for the postseason, or we need you for, the games, we need you for the rest of our games this year, right? We can't have you playing 30 snaps. But Christian McCaffrey wants to play every single snap. But it's like, nah, Kyle. Like, I get it. He's one of your guys, but you also have to be smart in how you use him.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And I'm basing my opinion on Purdy this season based on last season and the season before where he was just magical, and he's definitely had magical moments this year. But I guess before we didn't see the INTs. That's one thing that's kind of surprising to me about Purdy. We didn't see the INTs. Like he has multiple games this year where he's thrown more than one interception in a game. So that's what has kind of surprised me about Purdy. And yes, he's trying to make a play. Interceptions will happen, no doubt, but that wasn't his MO, before this season. He wasn't really throwing multiple INTs. G12, what's good? He says Brock is a good quarterback, is a product of the system, and there's nothing wrong with that. They expect Brock to do something he is not. Well, I mean, we've seen him do it though. We've seen him be super efficient. We've seen him make plays. We've seen him scramble. I just think we didn't see the turnovers and unless you're Josh Allen, the turnovers don't really hurt you or whatever. But the turnovers definitely hurt this team, and we can't afford that. We're not the same team as last year. And I definitely think this defense misses Dre Greenlaw. I mean, I think every fan who watches the game can clearly see that. And the Niners thought that Vontae Campbell would be the answer, but I think it's clear that that he wasn't. And Bosa might be out. Man, I mean, Leonard Floyd had a hell of a game. 1.5 sack. He probably had one of his best games on defense.
And Jennings, can we give just some props to Jennings, man? 3 dudes on his back fighting for the first down. There's literally, I think, probably in my opinion, maybe I'm forgetting, but I would say 3 on the top of my head that this entire season, in my opinion, deserve no hate, no criticism. Dominic Pooney, who has been freaking phenomenal for the Niners this year. Jawan Jennings, who's been consistent all year for the Niners, who's pretty last game he was literally the Niners offense for the most part. 3rd and 11, 3rd and 12. And the last guy is Demo. I think Dion Lenore has been freaking phenomenal this year. I'm glad we locked him in 5-year, $92 million contract. He got the back. I'm glad the Niners got that done before free agency and before the price was gonna, get driven up. But I'm glad the Niners got that done. But those are 3 guys, in my opinion, that for this entire year have been nothing but they've probably been the only 3 bright spots on the 49ers team. And Fred, I'll give Fred some props, even though he misses tackles sometimes. But players are gonna miss tackles sometimes. It's okay.
He was non-existent in yesterday's game.
Yesterday he
only had 3 tackles. It was
yesterday he wasn't it, but for the most part, Fred shows up every single week. He's a leader in that locker room. So Fred, but besides those 2, but the only thing I will say about Demo that pisses me off, even yesterday post game, he was like, "Conehead, I'm gonna knock that chin strap off of your whatever," and I'm like, dude. Why are we addressing Kenneth Walker? You lost another game. It doesn't matter, dude. And that's something about Demo this entire year. When you look at all of the losses, we lost to Arizona, but it was because of the heat. That's why we lost to Arizona. Or they got lucky. The Rams got lucky this week. It doesn't matter. And it's dude, we're losing games, and instead of trying to look at what we could do better, we're out here tweeting at players and guys that. Just okay, Demo.
A great saying. You want rain, you can't complain about the mud, man. And that's part of Demo's just his mentality. That's what he brings on the field. He'll hit you in the mouth. He don't care. He'll talk about you on the field, off the field. I don't like it either, but that's his mentality. I think that energy could be used towards. I mean, you ain't got to respond. Why? Does that make you tough? You respond on X or whatever. I don't think so. But that's this generation, man. That's what this generation does. But 49ers throwback says, Jay, stop. The whole team ain't helping Brock either. I mean, and that's the thing. If the whole team, and I know Shanahan is his responsibility. He put this team together, but if the whole team isn't living up to the standard, you definitely Shanahan deserves blame. But how can you expect him to? I mean, how can you expect him to have the same level of success? And he's at the top. He deserves absolutely responsibility. But
Jay,
the whole team is average. Why are we expecting great results?
Jay, you know who's average? Jared Goff is average. You know who's making him look above average? Who's making him in the MVP conversation before that Sunday Night Football game? The Detroit Lions offensive coordinator and head coach Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell. We can't sit up here and say but that's where when Brock struggles or he's not playing his best, I can still cut him some slack because Brock is doing the best that he can. When you're the head coach and you're not putting your team in the best position possible to win, and even in like when you going into the week, you think, we have the great game plan, whatnot. But when it's not working on the field and you continue to not adjust, that's where I have an issue, and that's where there's a problem, and that's the problem that I have with Kyle. It's like refusing to address the problem and refusing to even acknowledge that there is a problem.
And that's fair criticism, and I completely agree with you. He definitely needs to work on that. But is there someone in his ear that he listens to, that he respects, that will tell him, you need to take a look in the mirror?
But Jay, he's not going to bring that guy in. That's why he didn't bring Brady in. That's why he's not going to bring in that guy that'll say, Kyle, cut the crap. Like, you gotta be better. We gotta have, like, he's not going to bring that guy in. And that's where Niners fans are optimistic. Or even like Jay, when we say we'll give Kyle Shanahan another year, when you give a guy another year that's struggling and you're giving him one more year to figure it out, there has to be somewhat of a reason besides the track record. I like the track record, fine. But even in that track record, the losses have all come from the same thing of blowing leads in the fourth quarter or not being able to close games. They've all been the same repeating pattern. So giving Kyle another year, even hope for this year, like there's Niners fans that are like, we're going to win the division. We're going to sneak into the playoffs. And it's like, what optimism, what reason is there to have optimism about Kyle and this team moving forward when all Kyle has shown you is that, this team has bounced back the last couple of years when they've had a top 5 defense or when, the team was firing on all cylinders. This year, the team has just been sloppy as hell, and Kyle Shanahan's been doing the same exact things that he's done all the past couple of years, except for we don't have a top 5 defense. We don't have a top 5 offense. Like, our special teams is one of the worst in the league. Like, there's no reason for optimism going forward. And you have the Packers, the Bills, the Lions on your schedule, the Dolphins who are fighting for a playoff spot. Like,
last I checked, the Packers and Bills ain't undefeated. Last I checked, and they put their pants on the same way the Niners do, one leg at a time. You still got to go out there. And we won in Lambeau Field before. We beat the Packers in Santa Clara in the playoffs, and we came back. The reason for optimism is because of past success, and I think that's kind of like what I'm holding on. Doesn't mean that we're going to go to the playoffs. Doesn't mean we're going to go to the playoffs next year, but that's part of it. But
that's why the Bulls should be optimistic because they had Michael Jordan and
that's like 30 years ago. Come on, man.
They had Patrick and they had 2 back-to-back three-peats. That's why the Bulls should be optimistic.
That's like 30 years ago.
Jordan's banners still hang at the United Center, so there's reason for optimism because of past
success. Hot diggity dog. Let's see. We got Jay Kumar. Appreciate that $10 super chat. He says Eugene Cyril Smith III, professor of quarterbacking, best quarterback in the NFC West. He talking about Geno Smith?
What? I thought he was just saying a name. Like I didn't know. I didn't realize that was Geno until you said Geno.
I don't know if that's his. I don't know if that's Geno. I have no idea. But who else
said yup? He said yup. That's Geno, the best quarterback in the NFC West.
This got to be a Seahawks fan, right? No, but like you said, man, I like what you said. How Ben Johnson is getting the best out of Jared Goff, right? Well, didn't Kyle get the best out of a Mr. Relevant quarterback when Brock was super successful? Wasn't he getting the best out of him? Like Kyle deserves some credit too for elevating Brock Purdy. And I think you can't say when Brock struggles, it's all on Kyle, but when Brock is successful, Kyle has no influence on that. So, and I'm willing to accept when Brock struggles, part of the reason is Kyle. When he's successful, though, that's part of Kyle's influence as well. It's a two-way street.
It's not all on Kyle, but Kyle plays a huge role in dictating the way that the game goes offensively. And can you confidently sit up here and tell me, and I'm not saying Brock doesn't make mistakes, but you can't sit up here and tell me that Kyle's put Brock in great situation, or even good situations. It's the best possible situation this year to succeed the way that he's been calling games, the way that he's been using certain players. You can't sit up here and tell me that, right? So, like, when the coach doesn't have a good game plan for the game, you can't expect the players to go out unless sometimes your players might get lucky because you have the talent enough to beat the other team, right? And your players are better than the other team. But when you, as the coach, aren't putting your players in the best position to succeed and your team in the best position to succeed, like not playing Jordan Mason at all after he was effective on the ground and not letting Garendo get a touch, like, is that putting your quarterback in the best possible situation to succeed? Not letting him call audibles at the line, which I'm not saying audibles dictate the game, right? But they make things a little bit easier on your quarterback, at least for the most part, right? Like, they make things a little bit easier for Brock and your quarterback, yet we don't even want to allow Brock to do that, which he's run your system better than any other quarterback that you've had so far, Kyle. So I'm not saying that Brock doesn't deserve blame for the way that he plays or if he struggles. All I'm saying is that Kyle also hasn't put this offense as a whole in the best situation possible to succeed with the way that he's been calling games, with the way that he's been executing.
No, well said. And I agree. Kyle needs to utilize more weapons in this offense. We've seen them. It's no excuse. It's indefensible where you keep Mason and IG off the field. It doesn't make sense. I just don't understand the benefit of that. Not only are you giving more carries and more touches to CMC, who's just coming off of that could be a career-ending injury. He missed the first half of the season. Why not spell him? But it's not like you're spelling him for a back who's not capable. Like, we've seen Mason, we've seen IG be capable. And so it's indefensible that he doesn't use those weapons. It's indefensible that he doesn't use cowling. Maybe have him do some of those Debo jet sweeps. Maybe he's got the speed to hit the edge. Like, maybe use him deep. So yeah, that's indefensible. And that's, other than Kyle's ego, not looking in the mirror, that's his other biggest issue, is he, for whatever reason, he just doesn't use the weapons around him. Also, he doesn't care about special teams. I mean, that's a big thing. I know they drafted a punter, they drafted a kicker, I know that, but yeah, I mean, he said it himself, and I don't know why you would say that. Basically, hey, just don't lose the game for us in regards to the special teams unit. And that's something that it's just it's the third phase of the game. How could you not, how could that not be important to you? I don't know. I don't get it. But the offense has been struggling, the defense has been struggling. The team is 5-5. Like I said before at the beginning of the show, we are an average squad. The odds of us making the playoffs, not likely.
Call it right now, Jay. Playoffs or no playoffs? Call it right now, Jay. Call it right now.
The fun part is what's going to change. Like, and it's funny. The first half of the schedule was much easier. We were supposed to be, stacking wins, man. We were supposed to be coming out that.
Yeah, and now you have the Lions. Like, yeah.
You got
now the schedule is not fun.
You got the Bills. You got the Lions.
Rams,
you got the Cardinals.
And those teams are fighting to win the division, right? Those teams are fighting for playoff spots. So those aren't going to be easy games for the 49ers also.
They're not. And I heard a stat today. I don't know if it's accurate. Maybe the chat can help us out. But the Niners have not beat a team that has a winning record. Is that accurate? Heard that stat.
The Niners have not beat a team with a winning record this season.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? That's insane to even think about.
Did I hit you with the stat? The 49ers are also the first team since 2000 to lose 3 division games when leading by 4 or more points in the fourth quarter.
Wow. I mean, yeah. I mean, that comes down to being able to finish, and that's something that Kyle has been. He's finished big games, but not the biggest. Of course, we know that. But yeah. I mean, this team just has a lot of things just not going in its direction. It's just everything's against us. The special teams, the injuries, the lack of Kyle using his weapons. The defense isn't the same. Like, all these things, and Brock is regressing. I know he had great games, man. I know he had some great games, but I mean, he and when I say that, I'm not saying he can't get back to where he was, and he will have some great moments. I still think Brock is a franchise quarterback. I'm just holding him to a standard based on his previous play. That's all I'm doing. So
I would give Purdy the extension, but at the same time,
absolutely.
I think he's gonna get the extension. But at the same time, I'm not giving Purdy a 5-6 year extension. Give him a 3 year extension. I would say give him a 3 year extension. Give him the Daniel Jones 3 year, but give him more than give him like I would say 180, 200 maybe, right? Give him something, but I wouldn't make it a 5 year contract or a 6 year. Give him a 3 year contract.
Why not? You got cold feet on Brock. What's going on, man?
It's not cold feet on Brock, but at the same time, I've seen the Niners give Jimmy Garoppolo a 5 year contract, and Jimmy Garoppolo looked great right off the bat, and then it ended up turning into spoiled milk. Or even Brock, right? Like I think Brock is good, and I think that the Niners can roll with him. I mean, I think he is a starting quarterback for the Niners. But I think, in Kyle's opinion, the Niners fan base, like you can't win in that situation because if you don't pay Brock, the Niners fan base won't be happy. And if you pay Brock and Brock doesn't do well, the Niners fan base won't be happy, right? There's some Niners fans will be like, so it's like it's a lose-lose situation either way because either way, one side of the fan base won't be happy. But I would pay Brock, but I would only give him like a 3 year contract extension or like even a 4 year at max, not a 5 or 6 year.
I'd be comfortable with the multi-year 4 or 5 year contract. I just think we still need to continue to build around Brock. So hey, we need to upgrade center. I don't know if Banks has deserved a extension from his rookie deal. I don't know. Basically need to upgrade right tackle. What do you know? We need another edge player. Like we still have to continue to build around Brock. Will Debo be here next year? Ayuk is going to be gone. Maybe he plays in December. Ayuk. I mean, we'll see. But I mean, the season isn't lost technically per the standings.
I need Kels, man. Like I miss my boy Kels, man. Like, I need someone.
We miss Kels. We miss.
I need someone to back me up here, man. Like Jay and like most of this night is still optimistic.
Is not lost faithful,
Jay, like you don't see. Even though if
we lose 2 straight games, which I mean, I wouldn't bet that we're gonna win these next 2 games. But if we lose these next 2 games, yeah, it's over.
Jay, you've been dating the girl longer, but somehow still I know that the girl's gonna let me down. I know she's gonna let me down, Jay. Like I know at the end of the day, I'm gonna get heartbroken, Jay. Come on, Jay. Like this team is like year after year after year.
I feel like this season, whenever we say, "Oh, they're done," stick a fork in the Niners, they're done. They, every time we do that, they get up off the mat. And that's what Shanahan has proven to do. So I'm giving him,
Jay, if they got off the mat, they would have beaten Geno. But somehow Geno ended up pulling out the night against like it's
that'll live rent free in your head with Geno giving the night. That's
any
funny.
lower, it would be Geno pulling out the night on the 49ers.
Yeah,
I mean, 49ers Eddie say Brock needs fair value. I'm not saying not to pay Brock fairly. I just wouldn't lock him in for 4 or 5 years. I would rather lock him in for 3. That's just me, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be comfortable. You look at all the quarterbacks who are signing their deals. They're getting 4 or 5 year deals, so I think that's expected, and I'd be comfortable with that. I think we do have a franchise quarterback in Brock. He's proven a lot. It's just that the turnovers just kind of, they leave a sour taste in my mouth. And it's just surprising to see that. That's all I'm saying. And I'm holding Brock to a higher standard, just how Kyle is held to a standard. He deserves a lot of blame. That's all I'm saying. Blue True, what's good? Blue True says third and Juwan is fire. Absolutely. Juwan is having a hell of a game, or excuse me, hell of a season, I should say.
Jay, what's the sweatshirt say, Jay?
Huh?
Jay, what the sweatshirt say? What's the sweatshirt?
It's your boy, Jay in the Bay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my wife made that for me, so
we'd love to see it.
I had to bust it out. It's cold now in the Bay Area. It's real cold now, man. Mm-hmm. So yeah. Mystic Max says, when is Greenlaw and Huff coming back? That's a great question. I mean, At this point, it may not be in their best interest to come back, honestly, especially from Dre Greenlaw. I mean, you're not 100%. Do you really want to lay it out all on the line for this squad if you have no chance of making the playoffs? I mean,
Dre was gonna come back, but if I was Dre, like I'm not saying no, Dre's gonna come back, but like I would, if there's nothing really to come back for, honestly, this
exactly,
season, it's over. Might as well rest it up. Don't it's not worth re-injuring. Like just chill, Dre. Like it's not the season.
I mean, Huff, I think he can play with the cast, if I'm not mistaken. So I think
at this point, let's be real, Jay. I know the Niners aren't going to do this, and I know I'm not going to expect the Niners to do this, but like at this point, even if you do make the playoffs, you're not good enough to win a Super Bowl, right? Like you're not good enough to win a Super Bowl this year. So like if I'm the Niners, and I'm not saying the Niners are going to do this, but like I honestly wouldn't even mind losing out and then getting a high draft pick next year because like there's Travis Hunter. I'm not like. Jay,
you sound like a Raider fan. You sound like a Raider fan right now, man. Losing out to get
Super Bowl, Jay. Like, get me a top 12 draft pick or a top, like give me a good draft pick. Let's go and let's look at mock draft season, Jay. Like I'm done. Like this team is not. Even if we sneak into the playoffs, Jay, you really think we're gonna win a Super Bowl this year? No.
Hey man, we can get hot, man. Hey, Dre may come back. Huff may come back, man.
Yeah, but that's what I've been asking every Niners fan. Is there's what reason do we have for optimism? Christian McCaffrey comes back. He's not looking the same. Kyle Shanahan has look at the division, Jay. We have a loss to the Seahawks, Rams, and the Cardinals. Last year when we made it to the Super Bowl, we were 5-1 in the division, and the last loss came Week 18 against the Rams, which we rested all our starters. So like. Yeah. What reason? Like we're 1-3 in the division right now. Like, what reason do we have for optimism? Like at least before we could say Christian McCaffrey's gonna come back. Now it's like Christian McCaffrey's back, and somehow we put up less points offensively with Christian McCaffrey against the Seahawks than we did without Christian McCaffrey. So it's like,
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, what reason do we have for optimism? I don't know. Like unless this Niners team shows me otherwise, and like that's the funny thing is like. I still feel somehow the Niners are going to bounce back and beat the Packers, and everybody's going to be like, we're back. And then we get blown out by the Bills on Sunday Night Football, and everybody's like, fire Kyle Shanahan, off with his head. And it's like, Yeah,
I mean, it's not looking good, but I feel like we say this after every loss. It's like, oh, time to fire Shanahan. Oh, season's over. Like I feel like we say this after every loss, but if you ask me what's going to change, I mean, I ain't got no answer for you. Maybe Pearsall gets more involved in the offense. He had no impact on the game whatsoever. Pearsall looked like he could be a player when he gets involved in the offense. I feel like Debo is still a good player, but he's not going to give you, three games of Pro Bowl or All Pro worthy performance. I feel like I don't know if he still has that in him. But it seems like when we're ready to say Debo is trash, we trade Debo, he has a pretty good game or he has an impactful game. It may not be, he's never going to be like a 10 catch guy, but it could be 3 catches. He had a big game against, I think when we played Seattle last time, right? I think he had a deep pass. I think he had one of those this year and he can make an impact on the game. It's just not going to be, a 10, 12 catch game or whatever. But I just feel like whenever we say, well, season's over, time to pack it in, grand opening, grand closing, this team surprises us. So I'm not holding out hope. Now, will I bet that the Niners beat the Packers? No. But and that's based off what I've seen this year. But so what's your score prediction? I mean, let the people know, man. The Packers gonna blow us out in Lambeau Field, man. I mean, Jordan Love hasn't. I mean, he's been inconsistent this year.
He's been so inconsistent this year. That's the thing.
And that's the thing. You don't know what you're gonna get. Like, so I mean, if we force some interceptions, and maybe Moody, because we ain't gonna score no touchdowns. So now Moody could come through in Lambeau Field, man. I mean, Love, yeah, he hasn't. He had 2 games this year where he threw for 4 touchdowns. He's thrown an interception in every game.
Yep.
16 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, Jordan Love. that sounds like the Niners D might be able to capitalize. We'll probably be without Bosa, so. But that's what I'm saying. They not world beaters. They not undefeated. Like they can be had. That's what I'm saying. So
I think they can beat the Packers. I don't know about the Bills. I think the Bills is just like, but every time I pick the Niners for some reason they always lose, and then every time I bet against the Niners somehow they come out and they win. Jay, I'm done, Jay. Like I'm done. Give me the Packers, Jay. I'm done. No, you know what? Scratch that, Jay. You know what? Fine, Jay. One last week, I'll ride with my team against the Packers because Jordan Love, like I have Jordan Love in fantasy. He throws interceptions all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one last week, Jay. Fine, one last week. I'm gonna roll with the Niners. Even though I already know, I'm gonna get ghosted. You know, but. I'm a ride with the Niners.
I dig it. Hey, Jose, man, I appreciate you being in the chat tonight, man. You are
been active the whole time, man. Jose was like, "I'm gonna get out of here." Last comment. I know. And then you said Brock wasn't all that. He's been out here.
Set him off, man. It set Jose off, man.
Hey, Jay, what if Jose is like Brock Purdy's like burner account, and he's like
exactly.
What you saying about me, Jay?
This show is so compelling. Jose just had to stay and watch us, man. That's what it comes down to, man. No, but I love Purdy. He's the, I would say, since I've been a Niner fan, he's easily the top 2 quarterback that I've seen with my own eyes.
Who's the top 2 quarterback you've seen with your own eyes?
In a 49ers uniform, Steve Young and Purdy. I mean, Garcia. Garcia was pretty good. He was good. He had his short stint, but you could say I think Purdy's definitely top 2, top 3. Because you could argue Garcia, you could argue Cap, whatever. But Purdy, he's hella good. I want him to be the Niners franchise quarterback. Sign him up to a 5-year deal. You could do it now. But I'm just holding him to a standard that he set. He set himself. That's all I'm saying. He's going to continue to have great games. He's going to have some games where he's going to struggle, and that's just going to happen, man. That's part of the game. But as far as the game next week, you're probably going to be without Bosa. If Kittle doesn't play too, man, that's going to be.
Yeah, it's cold in Lambeau at this time. If it's cold in the Bay right now, it's cold down in Lambeau. So like Jake Moody, like I already know some kicks are going to be going this way.
Jake gonna bring it. Some
kicks are gonna go that way, and then we're gonna sit up here next Monday, and Jason will be like, "But it was cold to me. Like it was the wind. He's kicking down the Lambeau Field. To me, what do you mean to me?"
Jake Moody is gonna bring it. He don't want to miss kicks because he know Debo gonna say something, and I think Debo has every right. I know Debo ain't a superstar, or whatever. He will have superstar moments for sure, but he's not a superstar player. He's not one of the best wide receivers. We know that, but he is a captain. He was voted on by his teammates. I think that holds some merit. I think the Pepper, he kind of overreacted. I just think Debo say, "Hey, man, step it up. We need you, man. You can't, like you said, you can't miss 3 straight kicks and we're just gonna pat you on your head and say, oh, it's okay, man. This ain't Pop Warner, this ain't Pee Wee, it's the pros. And you got to do your job. And I think, we're gonna need Moody. That's for sure. We're definitely gonna need Moody. Do I think we're gonna win this game? If Kittle plays, we got a better chance. But he's got the hamstring, man. He's got the hammy. So I don't know.
Jay, me and you both know the girl gonna break our heart, Jay. Like we both know this, Jay. But like somehow we're still here. We're still here, Jay. We got
Purdy, baby. We got Purdy.
Right, you were talking about you were saying Purdy. You were saying Purdy regressed this year, Jay. What do you mean, Jay? You can't sit up here now. We out here like, yeah, but we got Purdy. We got Purdy. You mean like
we got Purdy, baby. He's like Jose said, he's number 5 in QBR this year or something. Like we got
get out of here, Jay. Get out of here. You were not saying that like in the beginning of the stream, Jay. You were not saying that. You were not preaching that.
Jose said something about his QBR. Like when you look at Purdy, he's had some great games and then he's had some blunders. And that's every quarterback's going to have that. Look at Lamar Jackson against the Steelers yesterday. Every quarterback's going to have that. But if we could get a magical game from Purdy, let's see if we can get Pearsall more involved in the offense. we say the same thing. Get Jordan Mason, get IG, less carries on CMC. I mean, if the defense is without Bosa, we're going to need your Tour Gross Matos. He stepped up. He had a sack. I know you saw that. I mean, the dream. So, I mean, we'll see, man. We'll see. I don't think
we're celebrating Tour Gross models. That's how low this Niners season is. We're celebrating
Matos. Hey, but he was coming back from injury. He had a sack. Maybe he can do it again against Love. Hey, the Packers are not unbeatable. Jordan Love has struggled this year. So if we get a pick or two, I'll tell you this: if the Niners can get one pick and Purdy doesn't turn over the ball, I say we win.
Purdy's undefeated when he doesn't turn over the football.
Exactly. That and that's huge, and especially on the road. If Purdy doesn't throw an INT and we get one interception from Jordan Love, I say we win the game. So I'm gonna say the Niners gonna win because we will get an INT against Jordan Love. I say the Niners win 24-20. That's what I'll say. So I'm gonna take the Niners.
I'm gonna say the Niners when I don't got a score for you today.
You said you was going with Green Bay, man.
No, because I'm gonna give the Niners one more week. I'm gonna give the Niners one more week. I'll give them one more week. They're my team. They're my squad. So I'll give them one more week. But like, if they can't beat a beatable Packers team, because the Packers are a beatable team. The Bills, I don't know. Especially since they just came out and they beat KC. So,
everyone's beatable. That's why they say any given Sunday. And Jose, it's all love, man. It's all love, man. We talking about our squad. I appreciate you and everyone else joining in the stream tonight. And it's all love, man. It's all good. It's okay if we don't agree on everything.
Jay, the Niners are like your fantasy football team, Jay. Like, we had expectations going into the year, and now we're like
cold-blooded.
Jay's fantasy team. We're average team.
It's been a tough year for fantasy for me. Yeah, at least with
we're an average team, Jay.
It's been team. Oh, we below average on my squad. We definitely below average. David V, what's good? Well, did you have anything else you wanted to mention about the game or the outlook, or you want to wrap it up?
One last thing. See, the one thing that made my night a little bit better is the Warriors lost. So,
of course, you had to get that in there.
That made my night a little bit better, Jay.
Absolutely. Hey, but I appreciate everyone tuning into the stream tonight. Whether you watched on Jay in the Bay, Straight Out of the Bay, I mean the Dream, we appreciate all y'all coming through. And hey, we should be here next Monday night, and we'll be reacting to the Niners-Packers game. And hey, hopefully it will be a victory Monday. I'm still holding out hope. If we beat Green Bay, the season's still alive. If we lose, the odds of us going on the road beating Buffalo, not likely.
Season's over, Jay. Season's over. I'm saying this right now. Season's over.
The season's over.
Can we just get a win? Can we just get a win, against the Packers, maybe?
When was the last time the Niners went? Well, we right now we're 1-3 in the division. Like that's crazy.
We haven't beat a team with a winning record, Jay. Like we haven't.
Yeah, you right, man.
But it's okay.
But go ahead and
I'll be back next year.
Well, hey, we'll see. Hey, but go ahead, close us on out. I mean the Dream.
We hit it with the end. Bang bang Niner gang.
Peace, and we'll see y'all in the next one.